Hey there! Did you know that small businesses are extremely vulnerable to attack from cyber criminals right now? And that most don't survive for more than 6 months after a cyber incident? John Byrne here, entrepreneur, insurance professional, online educator, and founder of Surviving Cyber. My goal is to help small business owners and managers like you get to grips with this complex subject of cyber risk. You may be struggling now to clearly see the big picture, but once you separate the myth from the truth, you can begin to significantly reduce your risk. Over the next 15 days, through this video series, I'm going to walk you through 15 dangerous cybersecurity myths you probably believe. I'll explain the thinking behind each myth, why it's dangerous to believe it, and the truth you need to hear so that your small business can stay safe. Now, before we dive in, I want to give you access to my free Cyber Resilience Workshop. It's a 60-minute video workshop that will show you how to create your first survival plan for your small business in 30 days. It's full of practical tips that you can implement. If you don't already have access, use the link survivingcyber.com/workshop to register now. I'll also put that link in the video description below. Now, today, as we continue the video series, we're going to talk about myth number 10. The COVID-19 cyber risk increase is temporary. I hope you're ready to dive in. I'm John Byrne, and this is 15 dangerous cybersecurity myths you probably believe. Welcome to myth number 10. The COVID-19 cyber risk increase is temporary. Now, this myth is talking about reaction to COVID-19 and the fact that cyber risks increased dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still very much with us. The thinking goes, I've heard that cyber risks of my business grew dramatically when the pandemic struck, but we've survived with minimal change to our company and with people doing what's needed. So what this is saying really is, well, we've managed to survive. Risks may have increased dramatically, but we've changed in whatever way we needed to. We've done what was needed, and therefore, we can continue as we are. Effectively, that it hasn't been a big deal from a business point of view. So this is a view you often hear from companies who didn't invest significantly in their COVID-19 defenses. A second view we often hear is this wishful thinking of, well, the sooner we get back to the way things used to be, the better. My employees will all be back in the office soon, and we can continue on as we were before. I will have control over my employees and their work environment. So a little bit of wishful thinking going on here to think that the world will go back the way it was before. The reality is the world will not go back exactly to the way it was before. Hybrid working is largely expected by all the experts to become part of our normal way of working going forward, with rolling pandemics or crises of a different type. It would be comforting to think that life was about to go back to the way it was before the pandemic for small businesses, but that's unlikely to be the case. There will be changes in business operating models that will most likely be permanent, and hybrid working is one of those changes. So it would be a mistake to pin the hopes of small companies on life going back to the way it was before. And finally, we often hear the view that, well, I'm not well prepared even now for allowing working from home or remote working in a hybrid model. So I don't have the expertise, to really plan the cybersecurity needs of my remote workforce, and I can't afford to implement it, even if I did have the expertise. You can understand the thinking here. It's clear that planning this remote working and hybrid working environment is a challenge for small companies, and many small companies have simply done what was needed in order to survive. So that would include widespread use of personal PCs at home, widespread use of Wi-Fi networks, home Wi-Fi networks, which are unsecure to begin with, largely transferring corporate data onto personal machines, a whole variety of weaknesses that have been tolerated during COVID-19 out of necessity. The truth is, the world moved to this hybrid working environment overnight with little or no planning. And now that we are significantly into this environment, it's difficult to accept that even small companies haven't given consideration to how their model has changed and what's needed to happen to make them more cyber secure. So the myth that COVID-19 cyber increase is temporary is dangerous. It's dangerous because it seeks to ignore really this dramatic increase in cyber risk that was brought on by COVID-19. And it seeks really to absolve the small business from responsibility for managing the risks from this changing operating model. Now let's look at the truth behind the myth. So the truth really is that COVID-19 provides this opportunity for small companies to reevaluate their needs. Now, while most small companies won't want a lot of expense and a lot of time to be invested, as we've said in other videos, it's essential that some amount of effort is put into reevaluating this new environment. Truth number one is that the world has changed dramatically. And especially in the last 5 years, even before COVID, digital change was well underway and it is unstoppable. So the pace has dramatically increased since COVID-19. And as a result, the work environment has radically changed and cyber risks have dramatically increased. So small businesses, sadly, are more vulnerable now than they've ever been to cyber criminals, and the enemy knows that that is the case. So failing to adapt to this new environment is a serious error. In truth, an exercise should be carried out by small businesses now to assess the cyber risks that are posed by this hybrid working environment and the resources that are needed to meet the business needs. So that would include things like considering, do I get my employees to use a corporate laptop rather than their personal laptop? Do I provide a VPN access, virtual private network access, to a corporate system? Or do I allow employees to use cloud-based applications on their own devices? So these kind of basic questions need to be asked and answered by small businesses in order to continue working remotely, even on a part-time basis, but in a safe way. It's true that certain amount of external consulting might be helpful to small businesses as a once-off exercise, just to do this job, to do this consultation or to do this review of the current environment. So special efforts should be made with employee training for the hybrid work environment, because we have to remember we now have people working from home, working from remote locations, who have no access to IT support, no access to other colleagues to ask about cybersecurity matters that might be known to one but not to the other. All of those supports are taken away. And as I've said in previous videos, cybersecurity is not intuitive. People need to be trained. They need to learn how to deal with this change in the work environment. So special effort should be made with employee training, and special risks will arise when people do return to the office. Because if they've been using personal devices and personal networks while working at home or working remotely, then when that data is brought back to the office and perhaps those laptops are brought into the office, there's an obvious risk that if one of those machines has been infected, then the risk is that you would infect the entire office infrastructure. So it definitely needs thought as to how this is going to be managed, and it may require a special effort even with small companies. And finally, the final part of the truth really is that hybrid working is the new normal for most businesses, for at least some of the staff, at least some of the time. And we're unlikely to go back to the way things were prior to COVID-19 appearing in all our lives. So that is truth number 10. COVID-19 provides an opportunity for small companies to reevaluate their cybersecurity needs. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful in exploding this myth and revealing the truth. Don't forget to register for the video workshop using the link survivingcyber.com/workshop, or click on the link in the video description below. I hope to see you tomorrow as we dive deeper into 15 dangerous cybersecurity myths you probably believe, so we can uncover the truth of how to keep your small business safe.